Make it your goal to live quietly, to mind your own business, and to work with your own hands as we instructed you, so that you may win the respect of outsiders and have need of nothing. God promises there and other places in the Bible that what I really have in mind for you is something much more slow,
Yeah.
but you're actually going to get growth's actually going to happen. Your goals are actually going to start to get met.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Epic Everyday. I'm Liz Frerichs, and this is my husband, Evan.
Greetings.
And we're so glad that you're here with us today. As you guys know, this week we are talking about living on the verge, as in the verge of collapse.
Yeah, or the edge of a cliff or something. That's what I always think of. A little close to the danger zone.
So when I think about living on the verge, one of the things that I was thinking about is just being completely off balance. Like when I am in overwhelm, I don't even know what I need to be doing next. I'm just in just do whatever the next thing is, but I'm so overwhelmed I don't even know what the next thing is supposed to be. And a lot of times the way that I handle that is I either just shut down completely or I self-medicate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think we talked about that. Like, these things have a tendency to shut down our creative brain and our decision-making synapses and stuff. Everything just kind of, yeah, I wrote that down too. Like, it seems like for me anyway, it's either I'm in like hurry up. I call it hurry up dad. I don't know if I coined that or the kids, but it's like that's the like get everything done. Who cares about the consequences of the relationships? We're just getting stuff done right now mode. Or it's like shutdown mode. I didn't think about self-medicate, but that's probably true. Where it's just like, oh, I'm just fine. I'm just not doing anything. Then I'm gonna go take a nap or whatever. Play games.
Read a book.
Yeah. So it's that verge is like, yeah, it's not balanced. I think that's a good word, especially for a day like Wednesday, where we're talking about being centered.
Yeah.
It's not coming out of your center. You're coming out of either you're leaning so far forward and ahead that you're going to fall on your face, or you're leaning so far back that you're just laying down and not doing anything.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really an interesting way to put it too, because I was thinking about how the being so far forward part, a lot of that has to do with future expectations. And that's where a lot of my overwhelm comes from anyway. It's not about what's happening in this moment. It's all the things that I feel like need to happen in the future. And I think about, it's like I'm trying to get all of them done in this moment.
Yeah.
Instead of being able to, I'm carrying the weight of all of it.
Yeah. And there's only one moment now. So there's really only more room for one thing.
Right.
Not 100 things.
Right. And the crazy thing is the longer that goes on, like the longer you're off balance, the more stressful it is and the more off balance you are. It's not like if you just wait or if you, like we were talking about, either shut down or self-medicate. If you do either of those things, then you come back to center. Coming back to center takes an active work.
Yeah. And whether we're out there cranking it out on the verge or the shutdown part, either way our goals are not getting accomplished. We're not being productive. We're losing out on, the things we're supposed to be doing that'll actually make our life fulfilled.
And I think it gets so stressful. I was reminded of trying to do our will, actually. Like that was on our list for a solid, 3 years? Because we put it on our list right before I got really sick. And then I was sick for years. And then once I started getting healthy enough, we eventually did it. But it was like, it felt like it was going to be this huge deal. And it was such a pain in the butt.
We started it, I think, once. And
we had started it.
Yeah, it got overwhelming pretty quick.
Right. But then once we did it, it took us like a day.
Yeah.
Just a couple hours. And we got it done. And then but I remember feeling like so stressed out. And I feel like I had been carrying the stress from all the hours of thinking about it. And every time I'd seen it on our to-do list and not done it. And so when we finally got
Yeah.
it done, it was like, oh, that felt so good, get it out of my system.
Yeah.
But every time we're off balance, we end up carrying more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
And we don't even
Definitely.
realize it.
Right. And so we're getting closer and closer to falling off the verge there too, because yeah, we're doing, you know, we have in our brain, who knows, maybe months worth of work or whatever. Maybe we put it off. Maybe it's just something that we can, I don't know. The, it cranks you down.
Right. Well, and I think it's a result of, like we were talking about yesterday with the firefighter syndrome. I think it was
Yeah.
yesterday, maybe Monday. But just that idea that you're constantly putting out fires, so you never have time to be proactive. You're always reactive.
Yeah.
And so you feel like you don't have time to work on your goals and to work on the things that are important to you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because
Yeah.
your brain is shut down and you're in firefighter mode.
Yeah. Being reactive like that, that can apply to how you interact with other people too. Like if you're reacting to some external problem, that's gonna. I wrote down doing other people's work. Like that fit in for me somehow. Now I'm trying to think about why, but so it's probably if your stuff is frustrating and it seems impossible, then I'll work on somebody else's problem, and then
Oh,
it's
yeah, it
just
turns
stacking up
into.
even more, and you think you're being helpful, but it's really just compounding even more.
Yeah, because every day you don't work on something, it's another
Mm-hmm.
day of weight, the stress that you're carrying with you.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how quickly time goes. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we think, oh, this is going to change soon, but really, it's so easy to end up being like, oh, 10 years later, I still have the same problems because I've never actively worked on them.
Yeah. Yep. So it's it's hard to impossible to make any actual progress when we're living on the verge. Um, you know, it, we're called to live a calm life. Jesus even says in his model prayer, "Give us this day our daily bread." Like that's a model for, the kind of pace that we're supposed to be living is more of a daily pace.
Right, so he's not giving us what we need 5 months from now.
Yeah, and we're asking today for what we're supposed to have today. I think I take comfort in that, even though it's not how I want to pray. I want to have those things taken care of a little farther ahead of time.
Yeah, that's true. It is really hard not to get into the like, I would like to have this set up so that I'm not worrying about, however far in advance. But something always comes up. And it's like Jesus says how every day has enough worry on its own. Like every day, something will come up.
I was reminded of the verse in First Thessalonians 4. This is First Thessalonians 4:11 and 12. It says, "Make it your goal to live quietly, to mind your own business, and to work with your own hands as we instructed you, so that you may win the respect of outsiders and have need of nothing." So there's that. I think that Verge mentality comes from that need of, I need something. Sometimes I don't even know what it is, but God promises there and other places in the Bible that what I really have in mind for you is something much more slow,
Yeah.
but you're actually going to get growth's actually going to happen. Your goals are actually going to start to get met, whereas that's not happening before. Like the fast paced life, and then the collapse into the zero paced life
Yeah.
is not actually getting anywhere.
Yeah, that's really interesting. J.B. Glassinger talks about in his Sacred Six book how when you just have 6 things on your to-do list, you actually get more done because you're not in
Yeah.
overwhelm mode. And I have definitely seen that true in my own life. I mean, I had things, it was crazy. When I first started doing the Sacred Six, I had stuff that had been on my to-do list for over a year that was suddenly just getting done because it was only one of 6 things on my to-do list. It was amazing.
Yeah. it is amazing. And I've experienced that too. Just I used to have a buddy who, we well, and it doesn't matter. We met in a support group, but so we were talking about things like this a lot, and you know, he had this thing. So like during his work day, he was like, "I'm just jot down the 3 things I'm gonna get done during these 8 hours." Just getting 3 things done. It just seems like what, but that was actually freed him up to be more productive
Right.
than if he goes into work and he's got 15, 20, 100 things on his list. None of them
Yeah.
get done then.
Yeah, because it's just so overwhelming. Every time you look at your list, you're like, look, there's all these things that I
Yeah.
didn't get done.
When I think what we do, organizations do this. I think even I do this personally. Like if you have a list of 100 things, you're going to go through there and find maybe the 5 or 6 that are easy to do, but maybe not
Yeah.
important. Whereas if you do something like this JB Glossinger system, part of picking the 6 things, there's a process of what's important to me, what's actually going to
Get me
like,
further.
yeah, actual progress, and not just the easiest thing on your list. And I totally, when I get on the verge, I'm wanting to do something easy. I think that's why people clean spontaneously.
Yeah, I
I know I
totally
do
do
that.
that.
Right, me too. Where it's like, well, I don't know what's going on right now, but I know I can get the dishes done, and then okay, you got the dishes done, but did you do your taxes? Did you write your will? Some of these real
Right.
long lasting, more more significant type of stuff.
Right. Yeah,
So
definitely. I think, too, one of the things that's really helped me as far as fixing being on the verge, since we're kind of talking about how to not be on the verge, has been, recentering on who I am and who God's designed me to be by reading through my journal. I keep a journal every day. I just write down what God's teaching me through my quiet time. And then anything else that comes up throughout the day, like, I don't know, J.B. Glossinger was talking about the 3 types of people, being either a energy vampire, somebody that steals your energy, a maintainer, somebody that neither gives nor steals you energy, and then a propeller, somebody who gives you energy.
propels you forward.
Right. And so that would be something like things like that where it's just something that really hits me over the course of whatever I'm consuming in my day. I keep that in my journal too. And then I just spend 15 minutes reading through. I mean, I don't read all of it every day, but just reading some of the things and reminding myself, this is what God said to me. This is who I am.
Yeah.
Recenters me on what's actually important to me. Because there's so many outside influences trying to tell you what's important, whether it's the media or our culture or your family or your job
or ourselves. I mean, we beat ourselves up. Yeah. And we need constantly reminded. I know I do. Yeah, I do something like that. I don't journal, and I always think I ought to start, and I never have. But I have a job where I'm blessed to be able to listen to like podcasts or lectures or something, and still get my work done. So when I'm doing that and I'm pouring in the truth while I'm being productive at the same time, that's really fulfilling, and it keeps me thinking about what matters. I mean, I could just listen to music or other things too, and then I'm not quite in a good of a brain space.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what we want to do is move, using the CSCs, move from a place of being on the verge to being able to be that calm, surrendered, centered, connected, and complete. But especially since it's Wednesday, being centered, moving out of a place of balance, of proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah, and I think one of the main, that might sound impossible because it sounds like a really big shift, but I think you're going to hear us say this all the time, like just do something that'll change your life 1%.
Right.
I mean, and maybe you hear us talk about somebody like J.B. Glossinger. He has a daily podcast as well. He's got a book called The Sacred Six. for some people, though, reading a book seems like a major commitment too. So, there are things out there.
Well, and that's why our podcast is, that's why we do a weekday podcast, because we need reminded regularly.
Yeah, and it's short, hopefully short enough and potent enough. Yeah. The other thing is that you can spend as much or as little time doing this as you want, is to pray for an answer.
Yeah.
And even maybe just the act of like stopping all the crazy for 5 minutes to pray, or driving to work without talk radio. Like, I love listening to the news on the way to work, but sometimes that, it's so stressful.
Yeah, I actually stopped doing that because I was like, I can't do this. It's just so negative.
And so sometimes I've got to, it's usually after work when it's just like my brain's kind of fried anyway, and I don't need any more just, garbage talk or whatever. So I'll drive home with the radio off and spend that time with God. There's times to fit it in, and it's just little.
Right. Yeah. But it's not about making big changes. It's the little 1%.
Well, we hope we can hear from some of you in our Facebook group, Epic Everyday Facebook group, and or maybe even on Twitter if you use that. We'd love to hear a comment or a question you might have. Liz's handle is at @ElizFrerichs.
And Evan's is at Kind of Lying.
That's right.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to hear especially how the CSCs have affected your daily life, and if there's any moments where you've seen applying that, being calm, surrendered, centered, connected, and complete, and how that has changed your moment. So, and if you guys have any other suggestions of topics, we'd love to hear that as well. We're going to be sticking around, so
that's right.
Anything you guys would like to suggest would be awesome. And, share the podcast too.
Yeah.
Because the more people we can get involved in this idea of, reconnecting to who God's designed us to be, the better it is for us as a community.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
We're enjoying this, so thanks for coming along the ride with us.
Yeah. Have an awesome Wednesday, guys.
Yeah. See you soon.
Bye.